actually had a school group I spoke to one time over in Lawrence County, over on the other side of the state. A student asked me at a little private table we were sitting at, he said, "Where's your favorite place to visit in the whole state?" Now, I assumed that he probably thought I was going to say the beach or somewhere like that, or maybe at an Alabama or Auburn football game. And I will tell you, being former president, student by the University of Alabama, it wouldn't be an Auburn football game, but just to make sure that we all know that. But I thought it was important to make sure that he knew a little bit more about the state, and I said, my favorite place to go, if I just had an afternoon to spend, would be at Little River Canyon. And he said, "Where's Little River Canyon?" Now, to all of y'all, that sounds kind of funny because everybody could take somebody in this room there today. And I said, well, from here, it's about 2.5 hours due east. And I said, it's one of the most beautiful places in our state. But you all know that, but sometimes because we see those things each and every day, we take them for granted. And I wanted to make sure that you know that I never take that place or you or this county for granted. Now, I'm honored to be here with you today. I appreciate them setting it up and letting me come and see so many friends here and visit with so many of you that I haven't had the privilege to interact with before. But I do want to tell you a little bit about our office and some of the things we've done. And then I want to answer some questions, if you have some, about what I'm actually doing and why I have chosen to be a candidate for the United States Senate. See, the Office of the Secretary of State of Alabama, which is the office that I've had for the last 4 years, 8 months, and 16 days, is the oldest office in the history of the state. Alabama had a Secretary of State before we were a state. In 1818, a man named Henry Hitchcock was appointed by our 5th president, James Monroe, to serve as Alabama's first Secretary of State. Now, he served ably in that role in 1818 and 1819. On December 14th, 1819, Alabama became the 22nd state admitted to the Union. Since that time, we've had 48 individuals who have served as Alabama's 53 Secretaries of State, now the 53rd Secretary of State. The Code and the Constitution of Alabama give more than 1,000 assigned duties and responsibilities to the person that holds this position. Those include, but are not limited to, the things that we've concentrated on the most since I've been the Secretary, and the things that we work the hardest at in trying to promote and make sure that we were doing a good job. They are elections, which include election administration, voter registration, campaign finance reform, campaign finance review, all the things related to the elections process. Then business incorporations, licensing, trademarking. If you start a new business in our state, you have to go through our office to get registered before you can ever hire somebody or pay 1 cent of tax. And last but not least, international adoptions. Now, we chose those 3 areas because those 3 areas, more than any other, directly impact the lives of Alabama families on a daily basis. We want to be responsive, respectful, and accountable to the people of the state of Alabama. Now, some of y'all are sitting there and you're saying, well, I know you spend a little time up here. You've even called off some of our communities that are in this particular area. But one of the things you need to know about that is the reason that I'm familiar with this area is not just because of the time that I've spent up here, it's because for the last 7 years, I have visited all 67 counties at least one time on an annual basis. I don't think that we can be as informed about the things that are important to the people that live in our state unless we visit them where they live. And the best way to do that is to be out and be among them. And that's one of the reasons why I travel to all 67 counties at least once every year. This year, since January the 1st, I've been to 53 of Alabama's 67 counties for a total of 382 unique visits to those locations, because I want to hear what people have got to say and why those things are important to them. Now, I've had a number of people that have asked me, what qualifies you as opposed to the other people that have announced their candidacy for the United States Senate? Why should we consider supporting you? This is what you need to know. I think I'm uniquely qualified in this role to serve as your next United States Senator, because as a member of the Alabama legislature for 4 years, from November the 2nd, 2010 to November the 4th, 2014, when my term was over, I was identified by the Semlite Foundation as the most effective Republican member of the Alabama House of Representatives during that 4-year period of time. They didn't say I was the most conservative. They didn't say I was the most liberal, for sure. They said I was the most effective member of the Alabama legislature. I take a great deal of pride in it, because no matter where you work, no matter what you do, you want people that are looked at and deemed effective in their role and what they're attempting to do. Since I've been the Secretary of State, we've changed the paradigm in that office. If you know anything about what we've done, you know that we've made a concerted effort to ensure that each and every eligible U.S. citizen that's a resident of Alabama has been given the opportunity to register to vote and have a photo ID. We go all over the state of Alabama promoting that on a consistent basis. And since January the 19th, 2015, we've registered 1,330,999 new voters. 1,330,999. We now have a state record, 3,514,373 registered voters in Alabama. 96% of all eligible African Americans in the state of Alabama are registered to vote. 91% of all eligible white Alabamians are registered to vote. And 94% of all eligible Alabamians are registered to vote. There's only two words you can say to that. Roll Tide. Now, I also want you to know this. You need to know we removed more than 800,000 people from the voter rolls, because those people have moved away, they've passed away, or they've been put away. And whenever that happens, they need to come off the voter roll. That's why today our voter rolls have the highest level of integrity and credibility of any time in the history of the state of Alabama. I'm very, very proud of that. That takes place because of the great work that goes on in the Board of Registrar's office throughout the state. And we have a couple of registrars with us today, and I'm so proud to see you all here as well. We've got to make sure that we continue to do that. But you also need to know that we still have some people in our state and some people from outside our state who are continuing to push back against the voter ID requirements that we have in place. They say that it restricts people from being able to participate in the electoral process. They say people are intimidated about going to the polls. They're entitled to their own opinion, but they're not entitled to their own facts. So what are the facts? In the last 4 major elections that we've had, we've broken every record in the history of the state of voter participation as well. Not just registration, but participation too. March 1, 2016, in the presidential preference primary, 1.25 million Alabamians went to the polls and cast a ballot for the candidate of their choice. November the 8th of that year, 2.1 million Alabamians went to the polls, casting their ballot for the candidate of their choice. December the 12th, 2017, 1.3 million Alabamians went to the polls, casting their ballot for the candidate of their choice. And on November the 6th of last year, 1.7 million Alabamians went to the polls, casting the ballot for the candidate of their choice, breaking every record in the history of our state for voter participation in the midterm by more than 500,000 voters. 500,000. Now this is what you need to know. They can push back, and they can say people are being repressed or suppressed. But there's never been a single time in any of those instances that I just described to you where a single person in our state has been denied access to the polls to cast their ballot for the candidate of their choice because they did not have the proper credential when they went to vote that day. I'm very, very proud of that. When we were sued by the NAACP Legal Defense Fund, I told the executive director, I said, I don't know why you're pushing back against this. She said it's a repressive mechanism. We have 800,000 people in the state of Alabama that want to register to vote and have an ID that can't get one. And I told her, not only did I tell her in Charlotte, North Carolina, where we both spoke, not only did I tell her in Selma at Brown Chapel Church, but I told the judge through my deposition in the court that they could not identify 800,000 people in the state that didn't have IDs. They could not identify 8,000 people. I told her, I said, I'd be so bold as to tell you, you can't show me 8 people in the state of Alabama that want IDs to participate in the election process that can't get them. Because if you will show me 1 person in the state, we will go to their home and we will give them an ID so they can vote and participate in the electoral process. We have done that 12 times since I've been the Secretary of State. That's not required by law. but it's something that we do to provide customer service. Why do I share that with you? I share it with you because when that case went to court, the judge summarily dismissed it with prejudice in a 62-page opinion and said if every state in the union was doing what Alabama's doing, every state in the union could have voter ID without equivocation. Our law is the only law in the United States that, since it's been challenged, has been held up to say this is the standard that other states need to meet. I am extraordinarily proud of that, because that means that anybody that wants to participate in this process is able to participate in the process. Why is that relevant to what we're talking about here? We've got to quit taking the things that are being shared and screamed at us and yelled at us from the liberal socialists that are trying to advance another agenda in Washington, D.C. And we've got to stand up and we've got to say, we're not going to take this anymore. We're going to push back, and we're going to quit being ashamed and embarrassed to say the right thing and doing the right thing the right way. And when we do that, we can start to make a difference in Washington, D.C. I need your help to do that. Why do I share that with you? Because I told you I'm the only proven conservative reformer in this race. So you may ask me, what would you do if you were able to serve as a United States Senator? There's 4 things that I want to make sure that you know that I want to do. Number 1, I want to work with the President to build a border wall to ensure that we stop the hemorrhaging and the bleeding on illegal immigration. We have to revisit the immigration laws in the state of Alabama, the immigration laws in the United States of America, because we need to make sure that the people that want to come to the United States are allowed to come here, but they need to come here the right way. This is a great example of a community that relies on people that need to be a part of this community to ensure that hospitality needs are met, to make sure that construction needs are met, infrastructure improvement needs are met, and agricultural needs are met. But we've got to make sure that people are not making up their own laws, but we're making sure that the laws that we have on the books are being enforced, and that we're working with other legislators at the national level to move this message forward. Number 2, we've got to push back against the liberal socialist agenda that's being advanced by Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, the rest of the squad, Chuck Schumer, and Nancy Pelosi. I don't know what it is that they're trying to press on or that they're trying to promote, but it's not based on the founding fathers' principles that established our country back in 1776, and in our Constitution it was adopted in 1787. And I can tell you that when I'm in Washington as your next United States Senator, we are going to do that, and we're going to push back that way. We need a senator who will work with the president to confirm conservative judges who, when they're on the bench, will not try to legislate from the bench, but will interpret the law the way that the law has been written, whether it be the U.S. Constitution or whether it be the Code of the United States that's been adopted. We cannot continue to let these liberal, out-of-control judges do what they want to do and legislate from the bench. 4th, and finally, in this regard, we've got to push back against the liberal, out-of-control spending that we see being advanced by Democrats and Republicans in Washington, who don't care whether or not the money has been budgeted for that purpose, but are only interested in moving whatever they can for their own personal agendas. Since I've been your Secretary of State, we have renegotiated every contract that has come through our office. We put performance clauses in those agreements. What does that mean? That means if somebody agrees to provide you with a particular service, they're going to do it. If they don't meet the standard, they're going to have to do it again. They're going to have to extend the terms of the agreement, or they're going to have to make a cash payment to you. We can do that at all levels of government, at the municipal, at the county, regional, state, and federal level. Until we start having an expectation for that level of excellence to be introduced, we're going to continue to get what we've been getting. Let me also tell you this. Since I've been your Secretary of State, when we started there, they were 7 to 9 months behind on business filings. The day that the paperwork left Fort Payne at the courthouse up here in Ronnie's office, when it got to our office in Montgomery, it was 7 to 9 months before they confirmed receipt of that paperwork and before they would cash your check. 7 to 9 months. But last Friday, for 3 years and 9 consecutive weeks, in spite of the fact that we're down 13 employees, 30% of our workforce. We've gone from 49 to 36 team members. We've been at same day on business filings. The day the paperwork comes in, the day the paperwork gets done. We're not operating at speed of government anymore, we're operating at speed of business. We can take that message to Washington and make it happen. And as far as the liberal out of control spending is concerned, as of last Friday, we have saved you $2,819,021.21 cash money. Because we know that that money belongs to you. And you need to know that we're treating it like it belongs to you. We also asked the legislature to zero us out of the general fund. Your legislator, Nathaniel Ledbetter, is sitting here. You ask him, independent of me, when's the last time you had a state agency or department come to the legislature and ask you to zero them out of the general fund budget? I can help you with that real quickly. That would be zero. Okay? We can be about anything. I know there's people in there's a lot of people in here that are not shy. Yes, ma'am. Y'all got a question?
I'm a widow, and I'm getting this. I make just a little bit above to live in an assisted living house. But if I decide to live on my own and live, it will cost me $2,600 to live. They pay only $1,200. That would be
The question was about affordable housing for seniors and how we need to make sure that we are meeting their needs and supplying their needs when it comes to affordable housing, especially in the area of assisted living or things of that nature. One of the things that we need to understand is we've got to make sure that all of those guidelines and requirements that have been adopted for the last several years related to this aspect of affordable housing, whether it be public or private, are continuing to be in line and in step with what the adopted things are today based on the cost of living. Because it costs a different amount of money to live in certain parts of our state than it does others, and it costs a different amount to live in Alabama than it does in other states in the union. So we have to continue to work with those individual agencies and entities to make sure that they are treating people fairly and things are being done right and well. Let me tell you, in line of this particular conversation, even though she didn't mention it, someone else may be interested in it, about health care. We have a major problem with rural health care in our nation. We don't have the type of hospital services, we don't have the type of health care needs, critical care in our rural areas. This is not like it was in 1946 when Lister Hill, who was a senator from Alabama, worked with another senator named Burton to form the Hill-Burton Act, and we had it adopted, and there was a health care facility, a rural hospital that was placed in every county, in every state in the union at that particular time. Now, you look at all of those hospitals, whether it be the Cleveland County Hospital, where I grew up in Heflin, which is now a nursing home, or whether it was the Wedowee Hospital in Randolph County, where I was born, that was just torn down about 3 months ago. We don't have health care being met the way that it needs to be met in certain parts of our nation. And until we address that and provide proper, affordable, quality health care, we're going to continue to see the lack of economic development and the lack of educational enhancement and advancement being promoted throughout our nation. So we've got to give that a priority concern. We actually had some legislation that was passed in the House that was defeated in the Senate by one vote by Senator John McCain that ended the attempted repeal of Obamacare, and now we've got to go back and address the entire thing again. Other questions?
in Atlanta, they tripled their rate and where his business was operating out of. And when he found another place and applied, it was 7 months when they got their business license. They had to pay 5 months rent, $1,500 a month, work out of his house because people sitting on the, not doing that. So I can really appreciate what you've done there, man.
Thank you so much for that, Commissioner. I appreciate that. That's the one thing that people had failed to see before we got to Montgomery. What was actually happening was that there were opportunities that were being lost. People could not hire folks. They could not advance their businesses because they were looking at those individuals who were sending the paperwork in as just a piece of paper instead of looking at them as businesses. Just like when they were interacting with the families that were trying to adopt, they would look at it as a sheet of paper instead of a child. And now we have put a face on those pieces of paper so people know and understand what it actually means in order to be helping folks that we work for in each one of our 67 counties throughout the state. Other questions? Yes, sir. Commissioner.
You talk about rural health care. Several years ago, we had a program where state and county and maybe even federal had a program that we would help fund scholarships for those who qualified to go to medical school and then come back to our rural areas and work with our rural constituents. Of course, 2/3 of our counties in Alabama, or almost 3/4 of the county. I would like, if you're elected, or if anybody else is elected, then we'd be glad to work with you any way we could, and I know every other election we could, to get some commitments from those men who are willing to go to school and those have this scholarships, and then them return for a period of time to help in our rural areas. I want to ask you how you feel about that.
Commissioner, I appreciate that question. It is are y'all coming this way? That is a great question because what we've got to have is we've got to have a strong commitment to make sure that those needs are being met. That's one of the ways to cause that to happen. The University of Alabama has a strong rural health program that is continuing to work today along the same lines as what the Commissioner is mentioning. But we've got to give incentives to make sure that those rural health care needs are being met. Another thing that we need to do is we need to work with Washington to ensure that when those resources are given, that they're not clearly delineated where they're going to be spent, that actually they can come in the form of a block grant and it can be determined by the state and by the counties and the municipalities where those resources need to be spent. Because I can assure you of this, Commissioner Hargrove, Commissioner Black, they know better about how the money needs to be spent in the rural parts of DeKalb County, more so than the people that are in Washington, D.C. Just like the mayor knows better about where the money needs to be spent in Fort Payne than the people that are in Washington, D.C. And all the other 16 municipalities in this county, their mayors and their council know better about what their needs are when it comes to infrastructure improvement, when it comes to water and sewer, gas lines, power, cable. All of those things are so very important, but they're best determined by the folks at the local level instead of the people in Washington, D.C. So we have to continue to push back against that as well. But as far as the rural health care program is concerned, I'm strongly committed to that and finding a way to make sure that we fund it at a level that will make it successful. Other questions?
Comment on your position on gun control and what you would do to help improve the relations with police officers throughout the country.
That's a great question, Mayor. The question was, how do I feel about gun control? First of all, I'm against gun control at any level. I think what we need to do is we need to start enforcing the laws that are on the books. Let me tell you, if we have a problem with firearms, the people that will be telling us that we have a problem and that we need to give it some attention are the people that are sitting over here against this wall. It's not the people that are in Congress. It's not the people that are in Montgomery. It's the people who do this each and every day. You know, I don't know when this happened, but sometime between the time that I went to the University of Alabama as a student and today, we have let our children and our young people lose respect for our law enforcement officers and quit appreciating them for the sacrifices that they make each and every day. Because when they get up and they leave their homes and they go to work, they don't know what they're going to face that day. Most of us know, whether we're teaching school, whether we're working in a retail shop, whether we're working in a restaurant, whether we're working in an office building, we know what our expectation is each and every day. They don't ever know. And we don't ever think about them until we need them. But I will tell you this, the sacrifices that they make and the service that they provide is unequal. So what I'd like to do before we say anything else, would y'all just stand up and let's give y'all a round of applause for the service that y'all provide. Thank you so much for doing that. But I will tell you this, I don't know what some of these liberal folks are thinking, but I can tell you that if you took away firearms from good people that put them in a position where they could not own firearms anymore, a criminal will still have a gun if they want a gun. That's why they're criminals. They find a way to have the resources that they need to commit the crimes that they want to commit. So we've got to push back against any effort to stop the restriction of the Second Amendment, which provides us with an opportunity to keep and bear arms of our choice, period. Thank you, Mayor. Any other questions? Okay, well, I don't see any, so let me say this. I had somebody ask me 2 days before I made my announcement. My announcement was on the 25th of June, on Tuesday, at the state capitol in Montgomery. And on that Sunday night, the 23rd, a guy who had been in our wedding 34 years ago called me and he said, "John, let me ask you a question." He said, "I know you're getting ready to do this. I'm going to come down there and stand with you." There were 178 people that came to Montgomery and stood with us that day when we made our announcement, many of whom are in this room today. He said, "Are you prepared to go through what you're going to go through if you choose to run for this seat? Are you prepared for the allegations that are going to be made, the charges that are going to be made, the pain that's going to be caused, the things that Cindy's going to have to go through, my wife, the things that you're going to have to go through? Are you willing to pay that price? Is it worth it to you to do that?" I said, "Ron, let me ask you a question. Is the Republic worth it? Is the Republic worth it? Because it's worth it to me. Because when good people quit standing up because they're afraid, we're going to get exactly what we've been getting. And we've got to push back against that. And we've got to say enough is enough, and we're not going to take it anymore." Somebody asked me, "What do you want to do as a United States Senator?" I told you about the 4 things I want to do with the President to help him. But there's 5 things that I want to do. Establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty for ourselves and our posterity, for all those that will follow us. Those are not things that I just created. Those are charges that are given to each one of us as citizens of the United States in the preamble to the Constitution. Those are not specific charges for U.S. senators, members of Congress, but for anyone that is a citizen of the United States of Alabama, the United States of America, and the state of Alabama. We have got to decide, are we going to stand up, and are we going to push back, and are we going to fight, and are we going to work to save our republic that we call this country the United States of America? If you want to do that, I'm going to ask you to join me. I'm going to ask you to vote for me, to push back against those things that are being advanced, and to take back this Senate seat and give it back to the people of the state of Alabama. That's what I need you to do. If you want to help us, we've got some bumper stickers over here. I've got some handouts. I'd love to make sure I get to shake everybody's hand before you leave today. I've got a business card. If you ever need me, if you need our office as Secretary of State, or when I get elected to the United States Senate, my phone number will be printed on my business card just like it is today. You can call me on my cell. People ask me, why do you give your cell phone number to everybody? Because I work for you. And I want you to be able to reach me when it's important to you, not when it's convenient for me. Thank you for coming out today, and thank you for allowing me to visit with you. Thank you for allowing me to serve you as your Secretary of State. I hope you'll give me your vote next March. Thank you so much.